Today's guest helps leaders and entrepreneurs outsmart, outconvert, and outfox their competition. Kim Trathen, the founder of Foxworthy Consulting, where she works as a fractional CMO and social media strategist, helps high performing leaders become more visible and more strategic about their social media presence. She's helped consultants land 15K clients and small firms triple their revenue in just 12 months by building personality aligned marketing strategies. Before launching her own firm, Kim led marketing for a B2B company and scaled her own business past six figures while raising three kids, which is one heck of a feat. I know I'm doing something similar to that, similar but different with six kids, but they're all launching. Yeah. So today she partners with founders and executive teams to drive smarter growth through social media and smart strategy. This conversation is part of a special Mind Capture Bootcamp series here on the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm talking with several of this year's speakers so you can get a sneak peek at the ideas, energy, and inspiration waiting for you in Grand Rapids this November. That's Grand Rapids, Michigan. The theme this year is Leadership Matters, especially now. So, Kim, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on today. And I know we had a little bit of trouble scheduling each other, but I'm glad we finally got to meet.
So glad that we made it happen. I'm excited to be here. I'm
Yeah,
excited to be on your show. And I think this is going to be a great conversation for people.
yeah, for sure. So let's just dive in. What first drew you into the world of marketing and leadership, and what inspired you to start Foxworthy?
Oh, such a great question. I had worked as head of marketing in corporate for about 7 years.
Hmm.
And during that time, I really had the passion to expand the impact that I could make on small businesses by going out on my own and making that mark and helping more leaders and more teams get their marketing to convert for them, as opposed to just staying siloed inside of one business. So that was really the drive to go out there, is just that broader reach and that deeper impact that I could make across the small business landscape.
And what attracts you to small businesses? You were in the corporate world, working with, I assume, larger companies. What's the appeal of small business owners?
So no, actually, when I was in corporate, it was still a relatively small company that I was
Hmm.
at. We were around 30 employees total.
Okay.
So like from
Yeah.
IRS perspectives, that would be considered a small business.
Yeah, it would
And
be.
yeah, I've always been really passionate about the small business landscape, even down to solopreneurs. I work with a lot of coaches, consultants, executives that are
Hmm.
going to go out on their own, excuse me, and leave that corporate environment. But those
Yeah.
small teams, those mom and pop shops, they are such passion driven businesses that that I love to be able to pour into that type of business landscape and really give them the tools, the skills, the knowledge so that they can start seeing bigger growth within their businesses. Because I think at the heart of it, no matter where you are across the country, no matter what town you live in, those small local businesses, that is the heartbeat of the city. That is who is
Oh,
employing your friends and your family. That's where your kids are hanging out. That's where they're getting their first jobs. And so being able to pour into the small business landscape is just something that's really incredibly, it's close to my heart and it's a passion of mine.
yeah, I love that. And I too, I worked with it was a $55 million company, and there were 30 starting to go towards 50 employees when we opened our warehouse in Tennessee. And you know, working with smaller companies, there's a lot of room for that. There's a lot of potential for growth. As I was part of their growth spurt from little to bigger. That would still be considered a small business or small to medium
Hmm.
business.
Yeah.
But yeah, working with the mom and pop and the ones who, especially the ones who have so many different hats that they have to wear. Uh, there's something to be said for working with those people and helping and giving them the tools and simplifying the way things work. How do you help simplify that? Because they are really time starved and stretched.
Yes. That's something that wearing all those hats, most of the clients that I work with, they've been operating in more of survival mode, right? Like just what
Mm.
is the top fire that has to be put out today? What is the most urgent thing that has to be done? they don't actually, or they haven't had the capacity to sit down and actually strategize about what the future is going to look like in their business. So when I partner with small businesses, I help them in two different capacities. Number one, I do fractional CMO work. So I'm stepping into their business and saying, okay, listen, owner, founder, you need to focus on the vision of the company. We need to have the right team in place to be doing their parts within the business. And I can step in and say, now we're going to build a marketing strategy that is actually moving the needle toward the growth that you want to be seeing in your business. So I
Mhm.
partner alongside of them to work out, what does that strategy actually look like for them? Who is going to be implementing that strategy? Like, who is taking ownership over their marketing content going out on social media, per se, or their emails getting written? Who is taking ownership over growing that email list? Who's taking ownership over,
Mhm.
maybe they want a bigger or better hiring pool of qualified candidates? We can use marketing as a tool to develop that type of high quality candidate pool for them. So it's really taking a look at, I can step in and say, okay, what are our real goals with this? Who's taking ownership over it? And then for some of my clients, they even hire me to do some of the implementation for them. And then on the other side of it, I also do like growth strategy with clients. So we'll look at their
Uh-huh.
overall business. What type of team are we developing? Do we have the right people in the right places? One of the big hurdles that a lot of small business owners have to get over is when they first start growing a team, they are still the go-to person answering every single question for that team. And because
Mm.
this business is their lifeblood, because this business is like their baby, they get very nervous about handing off and really cultivating a team of decision makers and critical
Mhm.
thinkers and people that can execute and make the decisions that need to be made. And instead, they unintentionally train their teams to ask them every question, to come to them for every decision. So even though their team is expanded, they feel more worn out and overworked than they ever have before. So it kind of depends on what capacity I'm working with a client, but the bottom line in both, whether it's the marketing bucket, marketing capacity, or if I'm stepping in as a business mentor or a growth strategist, our bottom line is, where is the business at right now? What is our goal for the business? And now, how are we going to get there? And then we're either looking at that through a marketing lens or through kind of a 360-degree view of the business.
Yeah, because there's that whole operations component that really strangles the budding entrepreneur, the small business owners, from retooling to that next level to scale. And I write about that extensively in my books, about speed to scale and trust and profit. So at the boot camp, you're talking about how leaders use social media for professional growth, which you kind of touched on that. What's the big idea behind this session, and why should listeners want to lean into that and maybe attend live?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I encourage anybody that can make it to the area or is local to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to grab your tickets, get signed up for it. There is a lineup of incredible speakers pouring so much information
Mhm.
into this day-long packed event. The number one reason why, kind of the big idea behind me speaking about this, is that social media is still, it is at everybody's fingertips, but very few leadership teams are actually leveraging it and getting the ROI on their time investment, or they're just not doing it. And the biggest thing about bringing yourself or your business or your team onto social media is that it is going to exponentially grow your business. There are going to be so many more people that you can get in front of. You are no longer constricted to just the pool of people that have been maybe even locally coming into your business. You can get in
Mhm.
front of so many different people and you build credibility, it builds trust, and it builds visibility for you and for your business. So even with a little bit larger teams where maybe it's a team of maybe even 5 to 10, 30 people, maybe it's a larger company and they have a really great leadership team at the top, but that leadership team is not leveraging social media. And I see this happen
Mhm.
with a lot of companies where they think, well, our brand is on socials, but they don't actually have their leadership team on socials. And they are
Mhm.
leaving money on the table. They are missing out on so many opportunities by not having strategies behind their leadership teams getting on socials. So with my session at the Mind Capture Bootcamp, what I really want people to understand is how they can start leveraging social media, whether they are in a leadership position, a C level, maybe even, or some type of leadership position, and how they can be leveraging social media for their professional purposes and how this ties into the greater growth of the business and can position them, right, to also be discovered by other opportunities if they are looking to maybe expand and move on from their current role at some point in time. But really
Yeah.
leveraging it to build that credibility and trust. It's that thought leadership component where if you are not showing up anywhere on social media, you are missing out on all of those opportunities that come with you cultivating that thought leadership out there.
I love that we're having this conversation. Uh, I want to invite you back on the show to go deeper into this because we don't have a lot of time for today. But one thing I want to ask you, and I encounter this with the people that I mentor and clients that I work with that are very, very reluctant. They're old school. They don't want to have the visibility. They're afraid of what their employees might say. They don't know how to put guide rails and guide rails up or
Mhm.
policies and procedures in place. They don't have a clue. So therefore, they're not on social media at all. They don't want to be on social media. They think Facebook is a time suck, uh, et
Yeah.
cetera, so on and so forth. You run into that. How do you kick them in the pants and get them to get into action?
That's a
That's the
great
bottom line.
question. That's a great question. And I hear that from so many people, especially in leadership positions. They're afraid of what
Hmm.
their employees might think or see them say. And here's the thing, there is already a narrative and you already have a reputation as a leader. You
Yeah.
either are going to sit silently and other people are going to cultivate your reputation for you, or you're going to go out and be proactive
Hmm.
and you get to direct what the narrative is around what you believe, what your mission is, what your values are, what you believe to be true about the company that you're working with. You get to take control of that narrative and you get to build your own online reputation. Because as I said, one is already being built for you. So it's, do you want to be in the driver's seat of what you are actually putting out and what people are going to learn about you, about your leadership style? Or are you going to let other people online determine through a Reddit thread or an disgruntled prior employee? Like, it can come from anywhere. But the more that you
Hmm.
can be in the driver's seat, then the more direction you have over what is this, what is this digital footprint that you are leaving behind? It's also, I think it speaks volumes to kind of building this legacy online. A leadership legacy is something that you can cultivate and build by sharing your thoughts and ideas with the world, by going out. LinkedIn is LinkedIn has massive opportunity on it. So when I
Hmm.
work with teams, it's number one, usually about educating them around what does it actually mean to show up. This doesn't mean that you have to share every aspect of your personal life. It doesn't mean that you have to join Facebook and you have to see everything from your crazy cousin that you really wish you weren't related to. That's not it at all. But have a
Yeah.
LinkedIn presence, get your profile set up, and start putting out a little bit of content so that you can start developing that that digital footprint, that digital reputation, that digital legacy that you would like to leave with the world. The other piece of it that I find is when I work with people in leadership positions, if I can step in and help do the writing for them, that's usually when they go, "Oh, yes, that feels amazing to put out. I would love to have that out there." But
Hmm.
because before I step in and there's so much fear and uncertainty around what they would say and how they would show up, that's clouding their judgment about what it would even look like for them to start doing it. So when we can come in and we get their LinkedIn profile set up, when we talk about like what are the top 5 pillars that you think are really important for people to know? If you were to, heaven forbid, if you were to die tomorrow, what legacy do you want to leave with the world? What impact do you hope that you have made? Because these are the things that we can start putting into your content. These are the things that we want to get your thoughts on to start developing some really core pieces, some core posts that can go out so that it impacts the world. And that's why it not only impacts like the hiring pool. If you work at a company and you're like, man, we get a ton of applicants, less than 1% of them are highly qualified. This is how you
Hmm.
start developing an audience of a qualified pool. This is how you start developing an audience and a networking, a referral system where you start getting in bigger business deals or bigger opportunities. This is even how, if you do want to move on from one role and go to another role, maybe with a new company, maybe within your company, one of the first things that they're going to do is they're going to check what your online presence does. And
Hmm.
we are staring 2026 in the face. If you are absent from social media, that speaks volumes about you. It shows that you are not quite with the times, that, right? Like it's a little bit of an antiquated approach, and there's still a ton of people in that situation. So I don't want
Hmm.
anybody to feel bad if they've been there, but I want them to realistically look at what that says about them if they're absent from social media.
Yeah, and I have a young client who's in his he's a super entrepreneur. He's in his 40s. He completely avoids social media and is like, you are the future leader of this
Yes.
company that you're part of, that's named after you. It's amazing how they just think that's a waste of time. So I think
Yeah,
we're, like you said, they're leaving money on the table.
absolutely. And if you look at the stats around LinkedIn, I think a lot of people, when they hear social media, it kind of depends on the age, but a lot of times they're thinking like Facebook. They're not viewing LinkedIn as a social media platform. And
Hmm.
if they haven't been on LinkedIn in quite a while, it has changed drastically. You can do short form video there, which I know scares a lot of people, but you can do short form video there. It's an entirely different platform than what it was 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, right? People used to think of it as your online resume. That's just not the
Yeah.
case anymore. What it
Hmm.
is it is the only social media platform that was originally designed for businesses, for people to do business on it, right? Facebook started as a social networking platform. Instagram started as a picture sharing platform. LinkedIn is the only one that started out for business. And
Hmm.
I think that that's why we see such different types of ROI on LinkedIn than we do some of the other social media platforms. And on LinkedIn alone, there's over 10 million C-level executives. There's over 90 million senior level executives, which means when you spend your time on LinkedIn, when you write your content and you develop your thought leadership there, whether it's leadership teams, if it's entrepreneurs, but you have the ability to speak directly to people that have buying power and are other decision makers. And that's why it's such a powerful network for anybody in a leadership position.
Yeah. So, what's one smart move that a leader should make and implement right away to help them attract more opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Definitely like broad scope is developing that thought leadership and getting yourself relevant and present online. If we talk
Hmm.
specifically about LinkedIn, one of my biggest pieces of advice when it comes to LinkedIn is treat your profile like a landing page. Now, that might
Hmm.
stress some people out. What it really means is the job of your profile is to let people know who you are, what you do, and how you can help. But just like with anything in marketing, we need a good CTA. We need a good call to action. And the number
Hmm.
one mistake that I see people doing on LinkedIn is there is a section of your profile called your featured section. The biggest mistake that I see people make is they'll just write some post. They'll either have nothing there or they take a post and they just link a post there. Well, that post
Hmm.
isn't doing anything to move people forward. What we want in that featured section is we want that to be where your CTA lives. So anybody can go look at my profile as an example. You can see my featured section. There's an option right there where you can fill out an application and get on a consultation with me and talk about working together. There's, and I'll switch it out periodically. But this is where you want to have, if you offer a free call, if you have a white paper, an ebook, something that you want them to download, some type of lead magnet, this featured section, it's like, what do you want people to do after they land on your profile? And that's what we're putting in the featured section. That's where the
Uh,
CTA lives of your profile.
and it's a smart idea to have a CTA in your posts too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's all different writing styles, which is something I spend a lot of time with my clients, helping them understand how to write posts so that we are moving traffic forward. We are moving people into your DMs or on your call calendar, wherever we want them to go. But there's so
Mhm.
many different ways to write that so that it doesn't feel salesy, it doesn't get stale. What we want to avoid in any high level content, we want to avoid sounding like, no offense to any used car salesman out there, I'm related to one, but we want to avoid sounding like the quote unquote used car salesman of like, act now, deal ending. That's not the vibe of high
Yeah.
level services. That's not the vibe. Those aren't the words that we use in the post, but it might look like saying, hey, I help leadership teams turn their messy back end operations into a plan that actually scales. Send me a DM if you're tired of feeling like you're constantly putting out fires, right? That's a very normal, natural way of how I might word the CTA on one of my posts. So we want to have really earthy, organic language, but we're definitely in our post telling people like what they can do next or how they can work with us.
Yeah, you should always be telling them what to do next. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
do you have an example of a client who applied that and had some wins, some results?
Yeah, yeah. One of my clients, she's in the financial space, and she was not seeing any results from her LinkedIn. She was getting maybe 5 to 10 was a high like amount of engagement on her post, and she hadn't had any leads directly come in from LinkedIn. So she knew she was aware enough to realize there was an issue, a marketing issue that was going on, which is why she reached
Mhm.
out and hired me. And we redid her profile. We got the featured section up to date. And then we started working on her post content. And it was really fun to see because I even took some of her old content where I was like, oh, this is such a great story that you're
Mhm.
sharing. Like, people should have seen this. But because she didn't know how to write for conversions, because she didn't know what writing style converts well on LinkedIn, I took that post and I just did a rewrite of her core story, and it got 7 times the engagement and 2 leads directly into her inbox. And so now she
Yeah.
shows up on LinkedIn regularly, right? LinkedIn has become a
Mhm.
lead source for her. Her account is growing. We want to see, we don't hyper focus on the amount of likes that a post gets because likes don't pay the bills. Likes do not
Right.
pay your employees. What we
Mhm.
want is business growth and we want sales coming in. But when we look at the engagement a post is getting, that's like a benchmark. It's like the breadcrumbs that we're like, okay, more people are starting to engage, which means we're hitting the right buttons with how we're writing this content. So it's not that we hyper fixate on getting likes, but we want to see engagement going up on your account because then we know, okay, we're getting people to take an action. It's like that's the breadcrumb on the way to having the DMs come in, to having that sales calls come on your calendar or the applications getting
Mhm.
filled out. It's the breadcrumbs that we're looking for is benchmarks of growth happening before we usually see the sales start coming in. So that's why we like to see a good, healthy account that's growing, but we're not hyper fixating on that. Like we always keep in mind the end goal is we want to see how this is impacting your bottom line. So if your goal is sales, we want to see more sales coming in, but we watch for those benchmarks of growth along the way of getting there.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Uh, so switching a little bit towards the boot camp, what excites you most about being part of the boot camp? And when you're not working with clients, what do you do to recharge to reset?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, the boot camp. I think the thing I'm most excited about is the energy that you feel inside of a room when you have so many powerhouses coming together. I'm excited to learn about some of the AI things. Like there's just a
Yeah.
really great lineup of people coming in there. And I know that the energy coming from the audience is going to match the energy coming from the speakers. So I think it's going to be a really electric moment. I think there's going to be amazing connections that are made, new connections, some people I've met online, and I'm excited to meet them in person. So anybody
Mhm.
listening to this, if you're going to attend the event, please come say hello to me. I love to meet new people. Definitely let's connect. And yeah, I think that's the learnings, the people, and the energy are the things that I'm looking forward to the most. And
Mhm.
what do I do to recharge? You can usually find me in our woods. So I love doing
Ah.
speaking events. I get really lit up. And then afterward is when I need to do my recharge and my reset. And you can usually, we live on 5 wooded acres. I have 2 huskies. So you can usually find me out poking around in our woods or walking off trail with the dogs. And just
Mm.
like having a lot of that really kind of serene downtime is what really recharges me for all of the energy I expend when I'm working.
Yeah, I love being outside too. But I spend a lot of time at the desk too, which I am doing this kind of work really lights me up. So meeting people
Yeah,
this way is really something for me. So I
I
really
love that.
appreciate that. So let's pause for a moment. This episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show is brought to you by the 2025 Mind Capture Boot Camp, a high impact 2 day event happening in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You're hearing from one of the speakers today, and if you want to go deeper, connect in person, like Kim just said, and capture some serious momentum, join us live and grab your ticket now at mindcapturegroup.com /bootcamp 2025 and experience what happens when big ideas meet bold action. So let's move on to some rapid fire questions, Kim.
All right.
How about a book that changed your thinking?
Oh, I have a couple of them that I really like. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go with The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. That
Okay.
is one that I read very early on, probably, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago now. But I've read it multiple times, which is why I decided to go with that one because it was good enough that I've read multiple times. And I think it's a book that it stretches you mentally to see how you might currently be capping your own growth. And so
Hmm.
that's why at different level, it's applicable at every stage of growth in your business or your career, because at every new level, we finally hit a ceiling, right? And then we have to bust through that. So that's
Yeah.
one that truly changed the trajectory for me.
Yeah. So how about a favorite quote or mantra?
Favorite quote or mantra. One of them that I reference just again the other day. And I don't know where I originally heard this. I did not develop it. I don't know who to credit it to, but I heard it once upon a time and it has always stuck with me. And it is the concept that if a man decides his goal is to walk to the horizon and every night he measures how much further he has to go, he'll feel like a failure. But if he measures
Hmm.
how far he's already walked, he'll feel like a success.
Hmm.
And I love that. I love that idea because so often we discount all of the progress that we've already made. And so being able to look back at how far we've come, I think is one of the most important things that we can do at any point in time in our career, because we're all high achievers. We all have really big goals. And it's really easy to start telling yourself that maybe you're not doing enough or you haven't made it as far or that you quote unquote should be further along now. So I love that idea
Hmm.
of always looking back and measuring the distance that you've already gone.
Yeah, I'd like to layer on top of that. I teach my clients to celebrate small wins. So if and it's the same kind of thing. You see how far you've come. You might have you might be writing a book or something, but just getting the outline done or just getting the first sentence done, getting the first chapter done, getting a proof in your hand, those little milestones, they should be celebrated because celebration uh, is releases dopamine. And
Mhm.
it's an addictive it's an addictive thing. Reaching those milestones and celebrating them just helps you propel yourself further, keeps you going. So
Yes.
I once wrote about my sons they were in the Cub Scouts, and every we have a monthly meeting, and I was the Cub Master, believe it or not, and
I
uh
love it.
and and we would have they would earn beads and badges and little things along the way for accomplishing the things that they did in the last month.
Yes.
and they were able to display them on their uniforms, and so that they could accumulate and see how far they've come. So
Mhm.
we should be
I
doing
love
more
that.
of that as adults, right?
We should,
Yeah.
and it's something that it's funny, one of my, prior clients that did a testimonial for me, he literally spoke in his testimonial video how me teaching him to celebrate those small wins made
Hmm.
one of the biggest impacts on him. He was a copywriter. He was brand new out of academia, and he was developing this business, and it makes such a huge difference, not only because we can see how far we've gone, but from like a brain science, right? From a neuro standpoint, we are rewiring your brain and we are training your brain to seek out what's working instead of letting your brain default to finding what's not working and being very fear-based or fear-driven. So when we start tracking all of those small wins, this is literally how on a daily basis you start forming new neural pathways in your brain and you train your brain to seek out success.
Yeah, I love that. So speaking of seeking success, what is a final rapid fire question? One underrated skill every entrepreneur needs.
Oh, one underrated skill.
Hmm.
I think it is the ability I think I would sum it up as resilience, right?
Hmm.
And I'm debating like, is that underrated? The way that I think about it is everybody talks about like, oh, the biggest change happens outside of your comfort zone. But what I think, especially when I think about people who are maybe newer to entrepreneurship, um, maybe it's an executive that goes out on their own as a consultant, right? Something like that. Everybody talks
Hmm.
about growth being outside of your comfort zone. But what oftentimes they don't talk about is the fear of failure that people have when they've been super high achieving in corporate. And so then it's like there's this deep fear of what is everybody going to think of me if I'm not instantly the biggest success out there? And when we
Hmm.
really cultivate that resilience, there might be 10 no's for every one yes that you hear. And so being able to really mitigate that without freaking out, for lack of better words, right? To
Yeah.
be able to keep going, to be able to keep strategizing, to be able to see that, like, yes, there's going to be no's along the way. That's just par for the course. I have yet in my 7 years as an entrepreneur, I have yet to meet an entrepreneur that has said to me, you know what? It's the easiest thing I ever did. Easiest thing I ever did was start and run a business. Right?
No,
Like that doesn't exist. So
no.
being cultivating that resilience and not letting it eat away at your psyche, I think is one of the most important things for people to do.
Yeah, and for those executives and people who may be in corporate and are stepping out into their entrepreneurial for the first time, a lot of times they forget that, hey, you might have 30 years of experience that you can bring with you. You're not starting over. Just because
Mhm.
you might have been writing copy in your for B2B or whatever in your business, uh, but when you venture out on your own, you still have all those skills and you have all those successes and you still have all of those people who would support you. You could go back to and get testimonials from them, or but
Yes.
but you still have those leadership capabilities with you that you can apply to entrepreneurship, even though you don't
Yes.
have a corporate structure around you. Now you are the structure. So
Yes.
that
And
that
that's
that, that
such a great point.
yeah. So, Kim, where can listeners find out more about your work?
Yeah. They can go to my website, foxworthyconsulting.com. They
Mhm.
can also find me on LinkedIn. And you can search my name or you can search Foxworthy Consulting. The URL for LinkedIn profiles is linkedin.com/IN/ and then mine is Foxworthy Consulting.
Gotcha. Okay. And why should someone make it a priority to see you live at the boot camp?
Oh, I think they should make it a priority, not only because of all of the other amazing speakers that are going to be there, but I really hope that people attend my session because learning what the top leaders are doing to leverage social media, there will be, even if you're already on social media, there are going to be so many nuggets dropped so that we can just make your time spent on socials even more profitable for you.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to be there. So, you just heard a taste of Kim's insights Live, she'll go even deeper, and I'm going to be there. You can get your ticket now at mindcapturegroup.com/bootcamp 2025. I'll be there, Kim will be there, and a host of other people will be there. We'd love to see you too. So, as we sign off, remember faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyan and Kim Trathen. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. And you're going to come back to the show, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. I'm down anytime. This was so fun. And thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyan, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.